So we're at that point of talking about line 3. Now, just keep in mind with line 3, you're still light infantry, you're wanting to keep things light, but there are some things in here you may or may not add. It really depends on you. I'm just going to show you options, and this is not a direct representation of it. As light infantry, you may be set on a mission for like 3 days, so it's not all going to look like this nicely packaged little thing right here. You might go without, but we'll talk about that in process. So let's start out right here. So this is 6 magazines, right? The 6 magazines that I had in my line 2 gear, if that is what I'm carrying, I want that amount actually replicated in my line 3 gear so I can actually do a complete reload. So that's just a representation of having extra ammunition and extra fighting stuff. So here you have a bigger notebook. Now, is it really necessary to have a bigger notebook? That depends on your position. So are you actually coordinating things? Are you actually conducting a planning phase? Will you have to illustrate it to people? Then yes, it would be necessary. For me, on my own, being like, if I was part of a militia or like a small team, if I'm not in a leadership position, probably not. Just my little notebook would be just fine. But for illustration purposes, for other people, sure. But if you're going to be like drawing out like defensive positions and stuff like that, maybe you want to have it. It's just really up to you. Here I have electrical tape. It's very good for, you know, rolling up stuff that's snagging, silencing gear and stuff like that. So it's always good to have around. Pretty lightweight. You don't need to have a full roll like I have here. This is relatively full, but you know, you want to have some on you so you can police up loose straps or whatever and, you know, cinch stuff down. So it's good for that. But whether you want to have it or not, I think there's no real reason not to have it, right? So next, you have a poncho. So what are you going to use a poncho for? Well, it's a poncho. So, you know, adverse climates and stuff, you can, if it's raining, you can just throw a poncho over you and sit down and go to sleep. You don't necessarily need to lay down all the way, but it is a good ground cover as well. So, you know, don't completely discount it. Underneath it, I actually have a sniper veil. You can just see a little bit over here. It is a tricolor sniper veil, so that could actually be very handy if you're actually going to be conducting a CTR as a light infantry. If you're a scout, you're probably going to be doing a lot of scouting and you know, as in CTRs, and you're going to be doing you know, movement from target to target and stuff like that. So having a sniper veil can actually help you while you're in a static position. So obviously it's got to be environmentally appropriate. So you don't want to have woodland in a desert climate, and you don't want to have desert in a woodland climate, right? So common sense, you know, paves the way on that. So with a poncho, you want to have 550 cord, and that's what this is. It's actually a pretty big, usually not unnecessary amount, but I just pulled out whatever 550 cord I had for this video. So to have as a prop. So you want to have some 550 cord with you. I would say like 50 feet, that would be fine. It's lightweight, very durable. It can be used for multiple purposes, shoelaces and, you know, whatever could end up going wrong. Make your own sling, whatever. Next to it, I have some chem lights. Now, are you going to need this many chem lights? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how many days you're going to be out, but what are chem lights for? Well, they're actually good for like marking positions, like if you're going out on an ambush. If you're going to be doing a raid, they can actually mark certain buildings. They can actually be used as a signal for, you know, when your area is cleared and stuff. Now, if you didn't want the full thing exposed and just sticking out like a sore thumb, boom, here comes electrical tape. You can cover up what you don't want to have exposed. I've seen it to where electrical tape was covering up everything but the bottom, and this was being used as kind of like a flashlight or a little signal device to where they were actually doing like flashing codes and stuff. So you can get inventive with that. Next to it, you have another light source. I have a Phoenix flashlight here, and I actually have it on its lowest setting with red tape right here, and it's on its lowest setting so it can actually work at night and act as a red lens flashlight. Now, if I needed white light, I could obviously take this off or whatever, but, you know, it's up to you. If you can actually get a good red lens flashlight or one of those, like, little tiny flashlights that is, like, you know, 20 lumens or whatever, with a little LED, like, you can put on a keychain, that would probably be good for, like, a red light at night, like, for map reading or whatever. So, here I have extra shirt and extra socks. Obviously, if you're going to be out for several days, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have some extra socks in like a waterproof bag, such as like, a Ziploc bag. So we talked about that in line 2. Like, one of the suggestions from SF was to actually have, a pair of socks in a cargo pocket or whatever, so that you could immediately change it without having to get in your pack. Not necessarily a bad idea, but, whatever. It's up to you. Personally, as far as shirts go, I didn't really change shirts very often. Especially, I would change it, like, once every few weeks, and by then we already had a resupply, so I personally wouldn't carry a shirt in a pack, but I would carry socks. It can actually be very important, especially if you've been humping for a while, going through, mud and muck and getting it inside your boots. It can be pretty terrible. It can, really mess up your feet. And so, yeah, just wringing out your socks can actually thin them out and make it very uncomfortable. So being able to dry out your feet and at least get a clean pair of socks on you is going to make a world difference, even if your boots are still wet. So definitely a good consideration. Now here I have medical gear represented. I have some compressed gauze, and I also have a bandage and an emergency blanket. So now, are you going to want to have extra medical gear on you? Well, this is just representative. It's not saying, hey, keep loose items in your pack. The concept here is, well, maybe you're a medic, or maybe you want to have extra, little odds and ends on hand in case you have, like, what's called non-emergency medical situations, like maybe somebody breaks an ankle when they're going up or down a hill, something like that. You might want to have antibiotics in store. So this is just a wide-ranging example of just having, like, some medical items in your Line 3 gear if you want. But, of course, keep it light, keep it simple. Don't over-plan like you're going to be occupying a heavy force, or you start becoming something like heavy infantry. You're not going to be light infantry for long if you carry much more than absolutely necessary. So for me personally, I might carry an Israeli bandage and the emergency blanket, and that would be it. And that would just be to help with, like, splinting or whatever. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I would just make stuff out of the field. So here, weapons cleaning kit. You can't really go without doing it, but I have actually the classic rods and stuff, and you can kind of hear it in there jiggling around. I want to have weapons cleaning kit. Want to take care of your weapon as good as possible. And if you have something like an M16 where you actually have a place to put it in the stock, or even with M4s, if you have a hollow grip, you can shove a bore snake in it. You can, forego the bore snake, and you can actually just take a little thing of lube and, stick it in the grip, and there you go, you're good. And, just relocate your weapon now and again, and you should be good to go. So here I have some chick-away here, so that's just representative of having more bug spray. Of course, you want to waterproof it, keep it from spilling all over the place and being a big burden, so you don't want it leaking all over the place on everything else. So behind that, I actually have what's called the shit kit. So this has a little bit of everything. Here's, what's in it: toilet paper, wet wipes, disposable bag, and hand sanitizer. This is a really good, thing to have in the field. I've used them several times, so I can say that they're invaluable. It's really up to you to decide if they're really priced right, and you can assemble your own little shit kit if you want. I know I talked about it in Line 1, how I have, like, a sanitizing wipe, or at least 3 of them, to do my little wipes in the field. But, if you have the time and, you have hand sanitizer and stuff like that, little extras and stuff, so, a little moist towelette to, like, wipe off your body. So that's kind of like your hygiene kit all in one, if you will. So here I have electrolyte tablets. So this is stuff to take if you are dehydrated. Now, the one thing that is not represented here in this whole kit is water. You can carry the water that you would consider to be a necessary quantity. I would personally say that if you're going to have a Line 3, you want to have at least 2 quarts of water. So you want to have 2 of these, or one of those big 2 quarts. And you want to drink out of that primarily. So if you're going to get a 2-quart canteen, or maybe you want to get a Camelback or whatever, drink out of the Camelback and then save your Line 2 water for emergencies and evasion and all that other crap. So, and don't be drinking unless you have to. If you're going to be going on an operation and you're stripping your Line 3 off, just try to wait until you get back to get more water. Become hardy. Just don't be a wuss. All right. So here I have a Mayday ration. That's just kind of representing the food aspect. So you can have less food than this. You can have more food than this. So It just depends on how long you're going to be in the field, how much food you feel you're actually going to need to keep your strength up and actually keep up with everybody. But just remember, what goes in must come out at some point. So, anyways, that's line 3 for light infantry. A lot of this was just suggestion based. You don't need to get it like a poncho. You could actually carry a Gore-Tex or nothing at all. This is just a kind of an idea of some things that might be handy as light infantry in the field. So, let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and you guys have a good one.